it transforms your body. Like there's literally long-term research where your liver begins to actually change, meaning the way that it metabolizes, your metabolism changes and it begins to try to eat away fat in the body. So people do lose weight with hydrogen.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. All right, y'all, let's jump in. I'm here with Greg, and he is the Hydrogen Man. And I'm excited because we are talking about something that we haven't talked about yet. And, I love to bring new things to y'all to learn. And so Greg is here to teach us all the things about hydrogen, obviously, as the Hydrogen Man. He knows a few things. So thanks so much for joining us today, Greg.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Hope.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we were chatting a little bit before we recorded, and I know this kind of the Hydrogen Man is kind of this name that you were given. You just became this expert, like unintentionally became this expert in hydrogen, and now is the self-proclaimed Hydrogen Man. So I would love for you to just share your story of how you became the Hydrogen Man, how you became this expert now on hydrogen therapy.
It's funny because hydrogen, I never expected to go down this road, but I didn't realize that hydrogen is literally going to transform, in my opinion, the world. And I should say before I begin, I am not giving any medical advice. I'm not going to be making any medical claims today. All I can say is that I think hydrogen is going to transform not only the world of health, fitness, even agriculture, but even the world of spirituality. It's going to do things that literally people just don't actually know much about. I just got lucky and stumbled upon it. And it was mostly due to, very unfortunately, my suffering. I just had so many medical issues that were horrible. I worked in the medical field for 2 decades or more. I know how that all works, especially all behind the scenes stuff that nobody sees. And unfortunately, when I got sick, I thought, oh no, now I'm going to have to navigate this. Oh, It was horrible. And, from a heart condition that I had that I was told by my cardiologist that I'd be lucky to live another 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Most likely needed open heart surgery. On top of it, I had autoimmune issues, gut issues, inflammation all over the place. I had such horrible pain. It literally felt like somebody took a sledgehammer to my back and I couldn't walk. So I couldn't walk for very long periods of time, like 6 months at a time. I would be completely bedridden. My liver and my kidneys were not really optimal. They weren't doing that great. And I had so much pain in my joints. I'm probably sharing a little too much, really. It's embarrassing sometimes, actually, but because I used to be really athletic and this type of thing. So from that to, I literally picked up a remote control for a television because I was on the couch because I couldn't move. And I went to go use the remote and I couldn't even do it. That's how bad my joints hurt. And I just couldn't do it. And man, that's when I broke down and started crying, and it's just been a really emotional, extremely difficult road. And so what happens is, of course, I would listen to podcasts, and it's nothing against podcasts, right? We all like podcasts. But it became very frustrating because I'm trying to learn about health, and I would see one podcast saying, hey, this is the best water to drink, alkaline water. And somebody else would be saying, no, this structured water is better. Or you should eat nothing but meat. No, you should eat nothing but raw vegetables. Like everybody was disagreeing on everything.
Yeah.
And that became very frustrating too, because you didn't know which road to go down. And boy, I went down a lot of them. And I wasted a lot of time and a lot of money. And again, it was very frustrating. So I'm a very data-driven guy. And when I say data, I mean, I'm talking and I'll weigh out everything. Yes, I'll look at numerous scientific studies, both short-term and long-term, which is really important because there are things that have short-term benefit, but in the long term actually can be detrimental.
Right.
So these are things that you have to look out for. And then, of course, it has to line up in so many ways. Yes, scientific studies is a huge part of it, but I also have to do my critical thinking. And I even look at ancient scriptures where there's ancient wisdom. I mean, I look at it all to a culmination to really just try to get better for me. That's how this whole road started. It was just for me to get better. But I got so desperate when I couldn't even work the remote control and I couldn't walk that I broke down. And I'm sure we all know that at our lowest points is sometimes when we make our strongest prayers, and that's exactly what I did. I mean, I was just like, God, I need some help. And if you can show me the way to help me get better, that was my prayer. I said, I promise that I will share it with others because I only assume that whatever I find is going to help everybody else. And I don't know what happened, but it was like a flip of a switch in my head. It didn't happen right away. I think it happened within literally like a week or two. And I used to hate reading, and I still actually don't like it, but I used to hate reading scientific data because it's so boring and so thick, so many pages. And it's dense, and it is so frustrating, really, because you just want the answer. And so I would look for this whole thing just for a nugget, for this little piece that I was wanting to understand. And that's when I stumbled upon hydrogen. It was one of the first things that I stumbled upon after that prayer. And when I was reading about hydrogen, I actually thought it was a scam. It was way too good to be true. I mean, just way too good to be true. And I'm like, what the heck is hydrogen? Like, I couldn't really wrap my head around it. And there's a real simple way to explain it to people now. It's a gas. So oxygen is a gas. Hydrogen is a gas. That's all it is. Just like nitrogen. There's different types of gases. It's a gas, and it's specifically molecular hydrogen. So not to get confused, because there's a lot of gimmicks out there and a lot of companies that sell horrible products, and it's just become so terrible out there, the world of health, and trying to navigate it.
Right.
And I went through that myself. And so that became very difficult because there's other companies that will say, no, we have something better than molecular hydrogen. See, molecular hydrogen is the specific hydrogen that we're looking at. And why am I looking at that? Because it is highly, again, I'm data driven. So we're not talking about 20 studies on this stuff. We're not even talking 100 studies. We're talking over 2,000 studies that have been done on molecular hydrogen, proven its efficacy. And not only that, it's already actually medically approved. The medical establishment kind of seemed actually very much against approving it. And I think that's because we all know that the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry has, let's just say there's probably some corruption in there, let's just say, right? Potentially, maybe. And so they really didn't want to approve this stuff. And that was in Japan. And even Japan, I mean, all countries have their level of corruption, even though they're a great country, and wonderful people, in my opinion, but the governments of these countries. So they didn't want to prove it. And they had, I think, like 100 studies at that time. And they just kept more studies and more studies. I mean, it piled on so much, got over 800 studies and over 1,000 studies. And you just couldn't deny it anymore. It clearly was showing the molecular hydrogen was amazing. And so it took me a while to figure that out. I was reading the data, but I thought, how in the world am I going to get my hands on molecular hydrogen, and how do I implement it, and what's the dose and the protocols and all this stuff? It became very difficult to navigate that whole world. And I was becoming increasingly more desperate because my medical conditions were only getting worse. I was even turning like a yellow pigment, my liver, things were really bad. I technically, supposedly shouldn't even be alive, at this point. And so things were horrible. And of course, I kept learning about hydrogen because it kept intriguing me. I read it for years. I didn't even use it for almost 4 years or so.
Oh, wow.
And so it was basically, like I said, it was horrible. It was a horrible experience. But on the brighter side, what it ended up doing, when I finally realized, okay, I'm going to try this hydrogen stuff. I tried a lot of the wrong equipment, and you can spend a lot of money on the wrong things. I mean, thousands of dollars. And then there's gimmicks out there that are just horrible, like hydrogen pills. I would never use those, just in case people, or these little bottles, like they sell tons of these little bottles, like, oh, this makes hydrogen. It's really, really great. And I get emails every day about these, like, well, what about this brand? What about that brand? I'm like, stop sending them. None of them are any good. I'm sorry.
That's good to know, because I have seen those all over Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about why they're no good, unfortunately, but from the membranes they use, if you were to lab test the membranes, and I've seen the lab testing, and I'll just say that I don't want to make claims, so I won't tell you what it is that I found in there. I'll just say that it's something that I've never want to touch my water. So the fact that it's touching your water would make me very nervous. They use plated metals. The science of metals is something that I also didn't want to learn about, but I very much had to learn about it in order to understand hydrogen. So there's so much that I had to learn, because I think what happens in this day and age is people will talk about how amazing hydrogen is. They'll show you all the scientific studies, which are mind-blowing. And then they're promoting something. They're going to promote, again, some little bottle or something. And what they don't understand is there is a difference between, yes, the research, but how do you actually make it and implement it? Right. So I think the best example for people to understand this is oxygen. There's clearly research on oxygen. If you go to a hospital, they have oxygen tanks. Okay. You go to a welding center, they have oxygen tanks. Are they the same oxygen?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it is a gas. I mean, do you know if they're the same?
You really don't.
Well, the ones in the hospitals are medical grade oxygen.
Mm,
The ones in welding centers are not medical grade. Do
makes
you know what
sense.
the difference between medical grade and non-medical grade is?
I do not.
It has to do it has to do with purity.
Mm,
So the purity of a gas is extremely important. This is why it's so
sure.
shocking that there's so many products out there like this. So the device, for example, that I used or that I now use is because of all my research, I learned about all the parameters and things to look for in the world of hydrogen. And I mean, we're talking about things like, and this is what I've seen as far as hydrogen. I've seen people with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, my whole family, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, glaucoma, macular degeneration, arthritis, even dementia and Alzheimer's, which is unbelievable because there is really no technology out there that really helps with that. The best medical technology doesn't reverse it. It just tries to
Right.
slow it down. I mean, that's
Exactly.
not really doing anything.
Right.
And and so it just goes on and on. Skin conditions, heart conditions, like what I had too, which was pretty wild because I did not expect hydrogen to make my heart condition go away. I was already working with a cardiologist. I was already being scheduled for open heart surgery,
Oh,
and I was
wow.
scared to death. I was this close to even backing out because I was just like, would I rather die or do I really want to get cut up, crack my rib cage? I was scared,
Sure.
and I had all these autoimmune issues too. My whole system was completely a mess. And seeing hydrogen change these things like apparently magically disappearing, which is what I
Hmm.
witnessed, both in family, friends, myself, numerous testimonials. In fact, I would encourage people because it's free. You can go, well, my YouTube channel is called Uprising144K. And if people want to support this type of movement, just subscribe. It's free. And then you can also share with people because the information is pretty amazing. And we're going to get on the spiritual aspect too, because it actually began to play a role, which I did not expect at all. And hydrogen's highly, highly spiritual. In fact, I think it's the most spiritual molecule in all of existence.
Wow.
If you look at ancient scriptures and they say things like, let there be light, where do you think the light comes from? If we look at the stars, where does our light come from? It comes from a star, right? It comes from the sun. What do you think the sun's made of? It's pretty much made of entirely hydrogen, all right?
Wow.
Some people may argue a part of it is made of helium. What do you think helium is? Helium is another form of hydrogen, okay? So hydrogen is the light of the world. It
That's
literally
crazy.
is
Mm-hmm.
our guiding light. And when we're taking in hydrogen with high purity, by the way, because that's how I found my way out of this hellhole. Purity is a huge part of health. And this is why all the chemicals and foods and crap in the air and stuff in our water and all this stuff is really affecting us medically, in my opinion, right? So it's not a claim, it's just my opinion.
We
And
agree with
that's
you.
something that really, really so purity is important. And so this whole journey has been absolutely incredible. And so yes, hydrogen is actually a very spiritual molecule, and it's so amazing that it does so many things. From it can literally go right through glass, right through walls, right through any tissue in your body. In fact, there's a doctor, super intelligent doctor from Japan. Yes, he's a neuroscientist, neurosurgeon, which is the top of the heap in the medical world, but he also happens to be a hydrogen specialist. I didn't even know this guy. Turns out he will only use a device that I'm using also. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And it's the only one that he recommends to patients, not for any financial gain. Apparently, he's extremely successful financially. He doesn't need to do anything like that. You never see him on a podcast promoting any products. Actually, he's an actual practicing physician.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular guy said he will only use that device because of the level of purity of hydrogen is so important because hydrogen goes past the blood-brain barrier.
Mm.
And this is where it becomes interesting on a spiritual front, because I'm sure everybody knows about the pineal gland and this type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And apparently, hydrogen is literally so tiny and can go through anything. There is no place in the body that it cannot reach, including the core of mitochondria. So,
Wow.
which is just unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is truly something unbelievable. And so, because it goes past the blood-brain barrier, he said it's extremely important the purity that it makes it. And so, when I was researching stuff like these bottles and like things out there like hydrogen pills and different products, the more I dig, it all leads back to China. Like some of them will buy the parts from China or the metal specifically too, and they'll put them together in some other country, maybe Canada or somewhere, I don't know. And they like to say, hey, this is made in America, this is made in Canada. They don't want to say that it's made in China, but they're trying to hide it from us. This is what I've been realizing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one particular gentleman in Japan, and thank God for this guy, he was basically saying, look, he had his own daughter was sick. So his own daughter was born with ALS, so Lou Gehrig's
Mm-hmm.
disease,
Mm-hmm.
and which is very sad. And I believe he was told that she'd be lucky to make it to the age of 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
Very sad story. A lot
Yeah.
like, all these sad stories, this is why I do what I'm doing, because if there is something that appears that can potentially help people, right? And so he wanted to create the best hydrogen machine in the world. And so it's not made in China. He said he would never go to China and have it made because he had such a high standard. So he basically reached out to a bunch of companies in Japan. And he said, we're going to do this all in-house. Yes, I know it's going to cost more, but I don't want this screwed up. I want the best hydrogen machine in the world, specifically for my daughter of all people, right? And then, of course, it ended up starting to be sold and then quickly became the number one machine in all of Japan. It is what doctors use, the medical centers. I mean, this is a device. And to make this type of hydrogen would have cost a lot of money and a lot of know-how. And you probably would have needed your own lab and equipment. It would have not been cheap. And, it would have been easily $30,000, $40,000, like it was probably going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to make high quality medical grade hydrogen. And this guy creates this device that and it makes both the water, because you want to make the water, you drink the hydrogen water, you're dissolving the gas in water, kind of like CO2 and like soda pop.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has an option to do hydrogen gas inhalation. So you can inhale it just like oxygen treatments or anything like that. And the testimonials have been so ridiculous. There's footage. I mean, I've even released some of it, but the company, if people want to see the device or just read about it, the official company, and make sure to go to the official one, because lo and behold, China and there's been people trying to copy the machine and they make fake ones, but they don't technically have the real quote unquote technology. So the official website is called holyhydrogen.com, which is really funny, this whole holy hydrogen thing, because the reason that it's odd is apparently we're actually trying to mimic nature. So nature actually does this. And you're thinking, well, how does nature do this? Have you ever heard of a place called Lourdes, France, or Lourdes, France?
I have.
So the holy waters of Lourdes, those waters were supposedly, allegedly, people's medical conditions were going away by drinking this water.
Oh, I see where this
is going. And it wasn't just like 2 cases or 5 cases.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many that it became so profound that they actually were making sure to track people medically to see if this was real or just like a placebo effect.
Right.
They did see that there was something definitely real going on. And so they sent scientists to study the water. Everybody came back saying it's just H2O. There's literally nothing magical about it. And it wasn't until the Japanese studied that water because they realized that water was high in molecular hydrogen. And molecular hydrogen is extremely difficult to detect. And so, and it leaves the water. It's a gas that leaves the water so quickly that if you were to bottle it and ship it to your lab in Japan or somewhere, it'd be gone. So it won't look like anything.
Oh, that's crazy.
Lo and behold, and the Japanese they're so good at details. I don't know how they thought of it, but somebody must have thought, hey, maybe there's something in the water that's leaving the water. So they were testing things there, and they discovered high levels of molecular hydrogen. So that's how it began. And in labs, they started doing it with animals. You should see the animal footage. I wish I could show you. It's so unbelievable what the stuff does to the human body. The thing that intrigued me the most was actually how much it protects your body. So you could be bombarded with radiation, which would absolutely destroy you, like 90% cellular destruction. If you had hydrogen, it protects like 90% of your body. You probably get 10% cell damage, which is like night and day.
Wow.
And there's so many examples like that. There's a drug called cisplatin. I don't know if you've ever heard of cisplatin. It's a cancer drug, for tumors. Doctors almost never use it, which is why you never hear about it, because if you use it, it destroys your kidneys. In fact, it destroys your kidneys so much that you will end up needing a kidney transplant from the treatment.
Yeah.
So it's highly, highly toxic to the body. Well, they did a study where they used hydrogen with cisplatin, and it protected your kidneys to where you could keep your original kidneys. So the fact that it's so protective is something very important, because we're being bombarded by things that are harming us, in my opinion, every single day. So just the protective aspect, but it appears to do so much more than that, And so it really is a miracle in my opinion, molecule, again, highly spiritual. And we are just mimicking nature. So they built a device that does it. And from the help of beautiful industries in Japan, from G-Shock, the watch company, to Yamaha got involved. I think even Toyota was involved. Like,
Wow.
it was a labor of love. It really wasn't a labor of money. It was a labor of love. And, I found out that this guy just went all out. And his daughter's still alive, by the way. I think she's like 13
Wow.
years old now.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
mean, it's just such a miraculous thing. And I really hope that the word gets out. So I always encourage everybody, just share as much as you can. There's people out
Yeah.
there suffering. A lot of people don't know what options that they've got. And right now they're doing research on cancer with this device, actually. The neurosurgeon is using it on patients with cancer. And they're showing a lot of benefit on their markers when they're looking at their markers.
Yeah.
And so it just goes on and on. There's more that it does too, like opening up what's called ghost vessels in the body, and the whole thing with the pineal gland, the fact that it can go right past the blood-brain barrier. If there's damage to it, hydrogen helps so much with healing, and it appears to actually accelerate healing, which is one of the reasons it could be used for like in athletics. And there's even a woman, and you can actually see this woman. The company has their own YouTube channel. I think it's called Holy Hydrogen. I'm not sure, but I think it's the name of the company. This woman contacted me. She could barely talk. She was stumbling across her words. She was like a guy who I won't name that is in charge of the world right now. But she was just bumbling and fumbling, and she couldn't remember what she said after 10 to 30 seconds. She would forget everything. And this poor woman was suffering from TBI, traumatic brain injury. It was very sad. And I helped her as much as I could. I felt very bad for her. And apparently, so she did all this. She calls me like 6 to 8 months later. And when she called me, I didn't even know who it was because she sounded so different. And all she did was tell me, she goes, "Is this the Hydrogen Man?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I just want to tell you, thank you for saving my life." And I was like, "Who is this?" Like, I know I didn't jump in no river to save somebody from, drowning, or I'm like, whose life did I save? I'm like, who is this? She goes, "You really don't recognize me?" And I was like, "Well, no." And by the way, it's a phone call, so I'm better with faces. And I'm thinking, no, I don't know who this is. And then she started telling me, she goes, "Well, we spoke, so many months ago, you helped me." And then I was like, "Oh, that's right." I'm like, "Wait a second, you sound normal. Like, what is going on?" She said, "This is why I'm calling you." And I'm like, "Oh my God." She said, "The reason I want to thank you for saving my life," which I was thinking I didn't save your life. She said, "What you don't know is that I was going to take my own life." And
Oh my
this
gosh.
TBI was so horrendous, it's so sad. And she said that she was going to do that. And she made a prayer, and she said within 24 hours or less, I popped up on some video.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she said, she thought it was so weird that it said Hydrogen Man. So she's like, "I'm just going to watch this guy for a second." And she said, "I just felt it." She said, "I felt it when you were talking. I don't know what it was. I just felt it." So I thought, well, what do I got to lose? So she said, "I'm just going to dive in on this." And she did. And she said, "Now I can live my life." She said, "This has been so miraculous." And the company interviewed her. They do some podcasts too. And they interviewed her and her experience, and you should see her. I mean, she's talking normal. I mean, it's unbelievable.
That's
Truly
crazy.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So there's just so many stories. Like, it just goes on and on and on. And I wish we could say more, but we also have to be cautious about the things we say these days, because I'm sure you know. And so yeah, so hydrogen has been an absolute miracle, game changing thing that I've seen in life. And there's more to come. This is just the beginning. It's literally, it's wild. I'm sure you probably heard of this book, and I'm really into water. So I teach people how to clean their water too. You'd be shocked at what's in our water. People don't realize that we have radioactive contaminants in our water, viruses, bacteria, parasites. You think your normal carbon filter is going to filter all this stuff out?
Right.
No.
Right.
And I have the lab report. That's how I know. I'm a data guy. So I know how to clean water now. You can go, if people want to know what I use, there's a device, multiple devices at a website called mypurewater.com.
Okay.
If they want a discount, they can use the code Uprising144K. They don't want to, it's fine. But if they do, it helps support the channel. They don't give me much, to be honest, but that's not the point. That's what I use, and I only support what I actually use. That is called carbon distillation. It's the only way to remove every virus, every bacteria, radioactive contaminants. And so in these lab reports, I have pages of all these chemicals.
Oh my gosh.
It just goes down the list.
That's so scary.
Pages of it.
Yeah.
And you'd be shocked at who it affects the most. And this is actually one of the saddest things. It affects little children the most.
Yeah.
So little babies.
Sure.
because their bodies aren't fully developed yet.
Right.
And so, and the radioactive contaminants and biological contaminants, making again parasites, bacteria, stuff like that. And their cheapest device is like 600 and something bucks. I think with the discount code, it's like 500 and something. But these are American made, lab tested, and they will make the cleanest water known to man. You pretty much can't make it cleaner. And so anyway, it's been really, this is what I use to dissolve my hydrogen into, because you have to dissolve it into water.
Okay.
Well, you can also, you can inhale the gas. All right. So touching on water filters, the problem with water filters is I won't go into what's in the water. We all know it's horrific. But basically, almost every single water filter is what's called a porous system. So there's a filter and the water goes through it and there's pores. Okay. What water filter companies don't tell you is, what if you have a brand new filter, like a brand new white t-shirt, and then you have water going through it, contaminants are obviously being held up at the filter, not all of them, but a lot of them. And then they test the water and they say, look how great it is. All right, well, let's say they tell you that this filter is to be changed every 5 years. Well, okay, or every 5,000 gallons.
Right.
Or whatever it would be, right? And let's say you've had 500 gallons or 1,000 gallons go through the filter. Do you still think that filter is doing the same job at this point? No, it's all full and dirty and contaminated. You can even build up bacteria in filters and make your water worse. So you have all this going through this porous filter. And then if you were to lab test that water, the results would be very different than the first test. But water filter companies never want to tell you that. This is why water filter companies and even hydrogen companies hate me, because I expose all this stuff and they don't like that unless I'm on their side, and they do offer me money quite often, but I always turn it down because I'm like, no, I got to show people the best, not who offered the most money.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with porous filter systems. Now, I even have a chart here. So if you see here, see the red line? That's water quality from a porous system. So more gallons, quality of the water is going down. Distillation, it's always the same. And that's why I use what's called carbon distillation to filter your water, because the quality will come out perfect every single time. And what's important to note is, this is what I do because it's just cheap. I have a silly, just inexpensive reverse osmosis filter, right? A couple $100 under your sink, whatever. I change the filter more often than I'm supposed to. Okay. I take that water and I put that in my carbon distiller.
Gotcha.
Now, at that point, I don't need the carbon anymore. You only need the carbon if you're using straight tap water.
Right.
But if I use RO water, then I take out the carbon and I just run the distillation process, and that removes every virus, every bacteria, every parasite. But you have to remember too that within the distillation process, we have stuff in our water that we're not even testing for, primarily pharmaceuticals. 3 top pharmaceuticals found in our water, and this is good to know. Antibiotics, imagine that in your water. And even if you're filtering it, you're going to probably have antibiotics in there, which disrupts your gut and messes you all up. Antidepressants are also found at extremely high levels, and women's contraception. And that's because so many people take these substances and then they're peeing them out into the water. Not to mention all the other stuff, but that's just pharmaceuticals that are at high levels or appear to be. No claims here. I'm not making claims. I'm not giving any medical advice. So anyway, so I thought that was important to note. So when you go to the website, mypurewater.com, which is American-made carbon distillers, are higher quality. Most of them are made in China. And they do break, which is why I like the higher quality ones. Mine will just literally will last you like a lifetime, it appears. I mean, they just don't break. They're high quality. And you can it takes about 3 to 6 hours to make 1 gallon of water. But just so you understand how important purity is, have you ever heard of a neti pot? Have you ever read the directions?
I use them.
And it literally says in the directions, only use distilled
water. Right.
People have literally died from using the neti pot just because they didn't use distilled water. They thought, no, my filtered water is good enough. It's good enough. And the parasite or a virus or something literally through your sinuses will go to your brain.
Sure.
And it has literally killed people.
That's
this
crazy.
Is unbelievable, but it was there in the instructions. And that's why I like having my own distiller, because I can use that water for so many things. Like I have a protocol for the eyes. Like for the hydrogen, you can put in the water and you can put on your eyes. You wouldn't want to do that with any kind of water. It has to be highest purity.
Right.
So it's all about purity. But have you ever heard of this book? The Hidden Messages in Water?
I have.
So do you know who wrote it? Who discovered all this?
Was it the Japanese scientist?
That's right, Masaru Emoto.
Yeah.
So the Japanese are very interesting people. I mean, I mean, every time I discover something, it's always the
Yeah.
Japanese figured out
Yeah.
hydrogen. The
Yeah.
Japanese figure out that water has memory.
Yes.
I don't think and he discovered that water has memory. And I wish he was still alive today, because if I would have shared with him what I've discovered, because hydrogen, it's weird to say this, and I'm being open-minded because your show appears to be full of open-minded people,
Absolutely.
is that hydrogen it began to, dare I say, communicate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, how in the world is hydrogen going to communicate with me? And not right away. It took years. It took about, dare I say, about 4 years after I started using it. Because it transforms your body. Like, there's literally long-term research where your liver begins to actually change, meaning the way that it metabolizes, your metabolism changes.
Right.
And it begins to try to eat away fat in the body. So people do lose weight with hydrogen, and metabolizing fat, which is most of where impurities and toxins are stored. And then eventually it started sharing a lot of things with me. It's pretty wild. But one of the interesting things is, I don't think it's the water that has the memory. Masaru Emoto, I think, might have been wrong. Yes, water is amazing, but I think it's the hydrogen within the water that actually has the memory, because water is made primarily of molecular hydrogen. Right. And the reason I say that is because since the beginning of creation, hydrogen's been the first thing on the periodic table. It was probably the very first thing ever created. And within that, it holds the memories of everything. And so as I've been consuming it, but also because it goes right past the blood-brain barrier, and it, in my opinion, begins to heal this pineal gland. And it also helps with cell signaling, and it helps with like the rejuvenation of the body. It's like the body has like a 7-year cycle. I'm sure you probably know this already. And so throughout this process, I noticed, because when I first started using it, my medical conditions improved, and then medical conditions gone for me and other people. This was all great. I mean, okay, this is awesome. I'm super happy about it. I did not expect that after years of using, because I just use it every day. It's also anti-aging, so it's like really good for you. And they've done blood tests on it. I even have video footage. My videos are numbered. I have video number 68, which is a live blood analysis, by the way. And the live blood analysis video, what it shows, I've literally had doctors contact me, and this one specific doctor that was kind of funny, because she looked at it and she said, look, what you're showing on that video is impossible. She said, where did you get this footage? And I said, well, it's a lab in Japan, and they were testing that piece of equipment that I use. It's called the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium from holyhydrogen.com. And they were testing the device, they were testing the blood, and what they were seeing and witnessing was unbelievable. So they're filming it, and I got my hand on the footage. And she said, she wanted to prove that I was wrong. She's like, look, I'm going to prove that you're wrong, and that what you're sharing with people is not right. And if I prove that, are you willing to share that on your channel? I said, yes, absolutely. It's all about the truth. So she bought the device. She took it to her own lab. She had all the same testing. She followed all the same parameters, and the results came back exactly the same. And so she couldn't believe it. She was so blown away. She said, I can't believe I'm witnessing this. She said, this is so unbelievable. She immediately started giving it to her 96-year-old mother.
Oh my gosh.
And it changed her mother's life. Her mother was pretty sick, and she could barely stand up. After all this, she was able to walk for like hours.
That's crazy.
And before she could barely stand. So, and we even have footage recently of somebody with Parkinson's who couldn't walk for a very long time, just started recently walking, and they got footage of that. I already told you about the footage for the TBI lady. There was more recently some people, there's a medical center now, I believe in the US now, using these devices. And the things they're witnessing, people with really low problems with proper oxygenation of their body, because hydrogen appears to actually help with oxygenation, mostly because people don't realize we're already breathing in oxygen. There's tons of oxygen in our atmosphere already. If your body's not utilizing it properly, it's because something's wrong with the body. So you fix that, and then the body can utilize the oxygen that it's getting. So it just goes on and on. I know I've been probably babbling here, but there's so much to share. It's such a beautiful miracle of life.
It's incredible.
And even testimonials about women with babies. That was really a beautiful one.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The way it's affected.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to talk about how, the breastfeeding, the differences. This particular woman had children without hydrogen. She found out about hydrogen in the water that I purify and show people how to do. She did that, and she said that the differences were so dramatic. She said her doctor told her, she goes, I've never seen a baby like this before.
Wow.
This baby is like, completely different than her other children. As far as level of health, level of happiness, more at peace, less crying. I mean,
That's
it's
crazy.
unbelievable.
That's
It's super
crazy.
unbelievable. So
Yeah, it is.
it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. No, it is. And that's what I was going to ask you. So I mean, the evidence is there. I mean, the evidence is clear, right? That this is like life-changing for people. So as we start to kind of wrap up here, can you tell us,
Yeah.
so as far as, okay, so you mentioned the beginning, like, okay, the little bottles that are supposed to put hydrogen in, you're like, don't do that. So what is the best way for us to do this? If we want somebody, we're listening, everybody's listening, we want to drink the hydrogen water, what do we do?
So the first thing is you really do need the proper equipment.
Okay.
Thankfully, again, it's accessible. So before, when I first started, it wasn't. First, go to holyhydrogen.com. They have the same, it's Japanese made, handmade, Japanese engineered, lab tested, by the way. This is how crazy these company is. Every single machine they build is lab tested and certified. Nobody in the whole hydrogen industry does that.
Wow.
Nobody. They're the only company in the world that does it because it's too expensive.
Right.
These guys do it all because they're like super anal about hydrogen, which I personally appreciate, right? Because I
Sure.
wanted a really beautiful piece of equipment, and I didn't realize that these equipment was also extremely reliable. I didn't realize till I bought so many of these pieces of equipment, like these things, they break all the time. They just burn up. And so the way that these guys did it was, we got to make the machine reliable also, because you're going to be using hydrogen. People always ask me like, well, how long do I need to use it for? A couple of weeks and then I'm good. It's like, look, it's like clean water. How much do you have to drink, or how often,
All the
do you have
time.
to drink clean
The
water
rest
for?
of your life.
It's like the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Same thing with food. How often do I need to eat healthy? It's like
Forever.
pretty much the rest of your life. Yeah, exactly. You can't just eat food for a week and be done with it.
Right.
So I just use it all the time. And they made it easy. They're literally just one button. And they made it
nice.
self-serviceable. So you can clean it yourself. And once you have that device, the device is designed to do two things, which are the most important. It dissolves the hydrogen in the water, extremely high quality. They use the best metals. They had to develop their own metal, their own membranes. And the Japanese are masters when it comes to metals. Like, that's what the samurai swords have a lot to do with, is their metal technology. And they're second to none. They're the best swords in the world.
Right.
They're craftsmen. Their metal is actually all handmade. They need people with high level of craftsmanship to make the metal that they're using, because there's so much involved as far as the nanotech, like the nanobubbles that they create. They're literally double structuring hydrogen at this point. There is nobody even close to this device right now out there. So these guys have been way ahead of the game for a very long time. Once you have the device, then there are different protocols. There's different videos that I have that people can watch. Like video 337 is really good about protocols. If you get the machine, I recommend watching my video 426. I got over 400 videos at this point. I've been doing this for a while. And so you pour the water and you drink the water. And what you're really taking in my opinion, is you're taking in light. You're taking literally, hydrogen. You're taking in light into the body, which is pretty miraculous. But there's even obviously more than that. It's actually what I call, it literally is the life molecule. And the reason I say the life molecule is because it is medically approved for numerous conditions in Japan. And one of them is strokes. Now, this will blow your mind. Or at least it blew my mind. I think people might enjoy this. When you have a stroke, let's say you're not getting proper blood supply to a part of the brain. If you don't get proper blood supply, like the ancient scriptures say, life is in the blood. If you don't get proper blood supply, if I put a rubber band around my arm and I don't get proper blood supply to my arm, what happens to my arm?
Gonna fall off.
It dies, right? I mean,
right.
It'll turn purple and it'll die. So if you're not getting proper blood to the brain, this is why people who have had strokes, half of their body won't work and things of this nature.
Right.
And so what they do in Japan is, if you get one of the ambulances that has hydrogen on there, they put you on the gas and it begins to go to your brain. It just literally will go right through your nose up to your brain. It will literally go to these areas where there's no blood, and it will keep that area alive without blood.
That's crazy.
I don't know if people understand what that means.
That's insane.
It is completely insane.
Yeah.
And they're already doing research for like organ transplants. So they're already doing research in regards to this. And it's very promising already. And so then by the time they get to the hospital, they're able to restore blood supply. The numbers are almost everybody makes a full recovery. So it's well over 99%.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't get proper blood supply for 5 minutes or more, things begin to die.
Right.
People don't make full recoveries. I've seen people in comas from strokes. One wife took the device to the hospital and put her husband on it. He woke up from a coma. I mean, it's been so wild. There's a recent story about somebody with a medical condition this was really sad too. His brain was literally dying and decaying, and his whole body was decaying. He was like 100 pounds. He used to be a muscular, fit kid or
Mm-hmm.
guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He got on the hydrogen, brain started to restore again. This guy has
Wow.
now gained like 60 pounds of muscle, and he's
Oh
like
my
getting back to where
gosh.
he once was. So it's just so hard to believe,
Yeah.
but there's actual evidence. So that's how I would do it. That is
Okay.
how I do it. I use the
Mm-hmm.
the best equipment that is safe, high quality as far as purity, but also the proper levels. That's the reason,
Right.
by the way, that they lab test it, because the
Mm-hmm.
equipment to test for hydrogen is not cheap,
Right.
and it's also very difficult to access. So in Japan, that's actually where they make the equipment to test it. So I mean, the Japanese they are a hydrogen society, and people don't
Yeah.
even really know that. They're even
Mm-hmm.
building like a hydrogen city, by the way. This
Oh,
is so
that's
nuts.
cool.
Like, people don't know about this stuff, but it's going to change the world. It's going to change the world of energy too.
Yeah.
On the spiritual side, the age of Aquarius
Mm-hmm.
actually has everything to do with hydrogen, by the way, because
Mm.
Aquarius is about the knowledge of water, and
Right.
people don't realize that water, because it has hydrogen in it, mostly made of hydrogen actually, that is actually like the key molecule. Even the Pyramid of Giza was using hydrogen, by the way. A lot of people are unaware of this either.
Mm.
Hydrogen is so important, and the age of Aquarius is going to bring back that knowledge. And like I was saying, water has memory. It was proven,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's the water. I think it's the hydrogen within the water.
Yeah.
And that knowledge, which is beginning to even affect me, there's things that I haven't even spoken of. I'm not even a builder of things. I've literally had things coming to me of how to
Mm-hmm.
build specific pieces of equipment, which I
Yeah.
find very odd.
Yeah.
That would, for example, I don't want to make any claims. The things that this equipment would do, it's going to revolutionize the world. We're talking
Oh,
about being able to make people live hundreds, if not into the thousands of years. I
that's
know that, as
crazy.
crazy as that sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being able to create equipment to literally open stargates so we can and go to other places.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about equipment that will revolutionize the way food grows. Like, we haven't even begun to see the food that we could grow, by the way. The food that we grow is like, even the best of organic foods is
Yeah.
nothing compared to what we actually could grow. The level of nutrition,
Yeah.
the level of power within these foods, and how they can affect our health in a way that we the reason we don't know is because we've never seen it yet. We haven't
Right.
seen it. It probably was being done many thousands of years ago. And when I say many thousands of years ago, I mean well over 50,000 years ago.
Right.
So I think in our past, we used to have some of this knowledge, and it got lost along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. For
And so
sure.
hydrogen's, it's exciting. I'll just put it
Yeah.
that way. It's extremely exciting.
It
And if
is.
anybody knows, have you guys ever heard of Billy Carson?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like Billy Carson.
So shout out to Billy, because I love that guy. And I think that he's talked about hydrogen very little.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he knows about some of this stuff. And I think him and I, if anybody's watching, and whether they know him or don't know him, send him emails, bombard
Yes.
his email
Connect
box and
him.
say,
Connect
you
y'all.
need to talk to the
Yeah.
hydrogen man, because I think we have some interesting knowledge
I
that could come
think so
together, all for
too.
the goodness of mankind.
Totally.
I highly believe in everybody being happy, because I believe the happier and healthier that people are, we share that with each other, and we just create a better and happier
Yeah,
world.
for
There is no
sure.
happiness when other people are struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's the way that some of the negative people are. They're like, no, I got to be better. I got to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, we all have to raise
Yeah.
up. And so
Yeah. For the
it's part
collective.
of,
Yeah.
again, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
supporting would be a beautiful thing, as always.
Yeah. I
And
love
I
it.
really hope that you found all this interesting and helpful.
Totally. Yeah. No, this is awesome. This is so informative. And I'll put everything that Greg was talking about, I'll have all of that in the show notes, and y'all can go check it out and check out his YouTube channel. Like you said, he's got a ton of videos, so you can go educate yourself. I have one last question I like to ask my guests, everybody, as we wrap up. What do you think is the most important thing to do to live with purpose?
To live with purpose. Wow. Okay, let's see. To live with purpose. Well, first of all, I think just having a purpose is obviously extremely important. And I think that typically want to dig within your own heart to find that purpose. But I think that whatever it is, it's always involving mankind. It always involves people. So the bigger the way that we can touch people's lives, a purpose that touches people's lives in positive ways. I mean, for me, that fills up like my soul. Like, I learned that I learned how to feed and take care of my body. The clean water, the hydrogen, clean diet. I learned how to feed my body, but at some point, I remember asking myself, well, how in the heck do I feed my soul, though?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I realized that the way that I feed my soul is, yes, I dig for things, but the way that I touch other people's lives. And that's part of my purpose, trying to help others is what feeds my soul. And I think if everybody helped each other, I mean, it's like a web of just love and beauty and positive things.
Totally.
And so I don't know if that answers the question, but
It
that's
does.
the way that I
Yeah,
live my life.
no, I love that answer. Well, and I think it goes back to what you were saying a second ago, is us helping each other, like helping ourselves, helping each other helps us as a collective. I mean, we are all one, right? So no, I think it makes total sense. I love that. Thank you so much, Greg. This was so good. And I'm excited to share. I'm excited to be a part of this, like spreading the word thing. Like you're talking about the web, like let's all spread the word. And this is like life-changing stuff. So I appreciate your time and the energy and effort and commitment you have to this. Like this is a big deal. So thank you. And thanks for sharing with us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me on and allowing me to share this with people. And again, I just really hope that everybody out there, because it's a team effort. So I really hope that, and if anybody wants to, obviously they know how to see my YouTube channel. If people really need to, I don't like to do it too much, but I do like to give people the opportunity. If they want to email me, they can. My email is uprising144k@gmail.com. Mostly because I don't like to do individual consults too much anymore because it's so time consuming.
Totally.
But I always know that there are people out there suffering, and I don't like to hold back the knowledge that I've gained. And so they can email me if they like, if people really need help. But I do encourage them actually to go to the YouTube channel because pretty much all the information is there, and you should be able to find it there. But some people feel overwhelmed by it because I have probably closer to 500 videos now. I can't remember anymore. There's a lot of videos out there. Some are just for fun, though. Not all of them are super, super educational. But thanks for your support and everybody's support. I really sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.